Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, today on Randy Billy's Garage, we are going to put my Focus ST on the lift, and we are going to take the front bumper off, take the headlights out, and work on putting an aftermarket intercooler on it. I don't know the specific brand. I got it out of the junkyard. I think it's FS Works, but intercoolers are intercoolers. I've already had to fix something on it. One of the studs that holds the map sensor that's on the intercooler broke off, so I had to drill it out and put a bolt in it. But I love this car. For the most part, this car is my daily. And I want a little bit more intercooling ability because it's got the factory turbo as a KO3, which is a very small turbo. It heats up very quickly, and you can actually notice your charge air temps are starting to creep up as soon as you get into it. So hopefully that'll make a little bit more power on this car, and at the very least it'll be something I can accomplish now while I've got the lift and it's cold and there's nothing on the lift, and one less thing I have to do over the summer. So let's get to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking this cover off. I want to work towards getting the front bumper off of here. I know that the headlights have to come out. I've done this on a different Focus before, so I know I can get the headlights out without the bumper coming off first. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this trim off, make sure this comes off of there for the hood latch, and then work on taking the headlights out, and then I'll work on getting the bumper out of here. So these are pretty common. Push pin, you just need a fancy pry tool thing. If you ever have trouble with these things, try spraying some WD-40 on them. It makes them come loose easier. And if you ever miss any, or they break, or they're brittle, or they come out all messed up, you can buy these everywhere. They're really common. All the manufacturers use them. So just go grab a variety set on Amazon or whatever. So it looks like I have to disconnect. You can just pry out that cable, and then that comes out very easily. Set that to the side. This might actually be a part of the bumper. Oh no, it's part of this plastic part that bolts right here. So looking right here, there's two Torx / flathead screws. So I'm going to try to find a Torx for that, but if you're out of luck or on the side of the road, you need to find just a flathead works. But I'm going to try to find a Torx for that. There's two of them right here side by side. One's for the headlight, one's for apparently this plastic part. I don't know if this is integrated with the front bumper, so I guess we're going to find out here in a second. Let me find a Torx. So this is a Torx T30. We're just going to go ahead and, since we know we're taking the headlights out, we're going to take them both out here for just what we're doing with the intercooler. I'm going to have to take these out. So I took both of those T30 Torx out of that side. I'm going to take them out over here too. And then this is nice and free. Looks like it's all integrated with the bumper, so I'm just going to leave it. And then I'm going to work on getting these headlights out, which should not be a whole lot more trouble. I know there's push pins on either side here to get the tops out. I'm going to have to be careful with that. But anyway, let me get this apart and then I'll show you guys what we're working with. Okay, so bumper's starting to get loose. I know there's going to be something on the bottom for the plastic water splash guard shield thing. You can see right here there's a clip that it clips into, and this is the same thing. These side clips are pretty prone to breaking, and then your bumper falls off. So I'm going to be careful with those, but I know that inside this wheel well, and you'll have to come over here and look at it, but there is a push pin up inside of that wheel well right there. Usually it's a screw, but luckily on this one it's a push pin. So I'm just going to try to pop that out of there and then carefully get the clips out that hold the front bumper on. So there's our push pin that holds that corner. There is also a Torx screw right here that I'm gonna have to take out to get the bumper off, and probably some more push pins or Torx screws underneath holding this all together. They kind of tie everything together on a lot of these new cars. Okay, so along with the push pin that's right here, you've also got another Torx, which mine on this side happened to be a 10mm instead. And then there's the one you got right here. And then we're gonna start working on the bottom. As you can tell on this one, the head of this particular push pin is already broken off, and it's the same way on the other side. So I'm just gonna pop that out of there and I'll replace it when I put it back together. And then you're gonna have some other ones going across here. There was one in the middle, one over there. Well, this is all pretty standard stuff on most cars, so I'm not gonna go over every little detail. But the other thing is that this clip right here, this part was actually inside of here. It's pushed up in there, so you're gonna have to pop that up, because that's all part of the front assembly. When you do that, the whole thing should come outward. So we're gonna work on getting underneath of there, getting all that stuff off, and pulling this thing off of here. Okay, so I took those two broken push pins out, and everything appears to have come out. Okay, I think they both plug into the same side, so yeah.
It's on your side.
Yeah, just hold it there. I'll do this big plug. Okay, that was super duper easy. Like a lot of aftermarket stuff that you do, some of this stuff is not going to go back. So this is a duct that ducts air into your intercooler. It actually covers it. I mean, it opens up most of the intercooler for air, but since we're going to a bigger intercooler, this can't go back in there. I will try to leave this duct for the radiator just to make sure the airflow gets to it where it needs to be. And I don't know if the plastic crash bar low speed impact bumper thing is gonna have to come off, or if it's gonna fit or what. We'll find out when I try to fit up the other intercooler that I've got. This particular shroud right here that's just kind of hanging, it has two more of those T30 Torx. So I'm gonna take those out and get them out of the way, and then I'll show you guys the intercooler.
That's an intercooler.
Yep, so this is the factory intercooler. It is not big. I always find it fun to see what's in here. You always see like wasps and, I don't know, birds and chupacabras and stuff like that. But
for reference, here's the new one.
This
new
is
old
the new
one.
So we got this out of a junkyard from a wrecked Focus X ST. I almost scored a good deal on a nice big turbo that was in it too, but the turbo itself was actually, the center housing was completely shattered. So at least I got an intercooler and I've pressure tested it, and it's ready to go in. So I just got to make sure that I can actually bolt it in here.
So I found where they put your computer in this thing.
Oh yeah, have you ever seen this before, Billy?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I had to
This is
actually
dumb.
prepare it. So this is the ECU. It is in the wheel well, and I mean, what a terrible spot for that. You get in any kind of wreck on the driver's side, which is the side everybody gets a wreck in, and it's messed up. Plus, I've had to try to take these out of here before, and these tiny little screws, like the round off, I mean, that's like a 5 or a 5.5 or whatever. I don't know what Ford was thinking. At least it's out of the way, and I don't have to buy a custom battery box like on the Mazda Speed. But man, I don't like where they put it.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I know packaging is tight in vehicles, so I'm not convinced that there wasn't like somewhere in the dash or like the hood cowl they could have put that, or
Yeah.
anywhere else put a wheel well.
It's crazy. They try to save so much money on the cost of wiring per car.
They were just, like, right next to it.
This probably didn't make any sense when they could have put it in the trunk. But look at this I mean this outer cover that's all vented and stuff. This part right here is broken out of it. Like, that's just a cover. You really got to hope that ECU is sealed right. They do a good job of that, but yeah, I don't like it. That isn't right.
What did that go to?
Probably
Active grill or something?
Probably the grill shutters. That's probably why I never found a plug. There are 3 wires, and they are very corroded and, cut off. So What is that?
7mm on the hose clamps.
Yeah. Here's a pro tip. Always keep a whole bunch of Ziploc bags available in your garage. That way you can keep things separate. I have a bag for the front bumper, and I'm doing a bag for this under tray to keep this hardware separate. Even if all the hardware is the same, you still want to know very quickly so you're not struggling to try to figure out what goes where. I'm going to try to save this because I do like having this. Just kind of a deflector. Yeah, so if you're careful, you can take that off without having to take your entire oil or under tray skid pan crap out of there. And if you've got a Focus ST, do yourself a favor, go buy one of the under trays that they have on eBay or wherever it was. I think it's like 70 or 80 or 100 bucks, something like that. It is worth it. It's like 3/16 thick, though this is way better than the factory fabric that just completely disintegrates. I washed this car after I got it. I very briefly sprayed the power washer underneath and the back of it just disintegrated. So rather than buying the new Ford part, just get this aftermarket plastic thing. It's worth the money. Looks like the intercooler itself is held on with these extremely rusted bolts. I don't exactly understand why they hid this up under here, forcing me to come up with a way to get it out. But it's attached to the radiator, and I can't get anything straight onto it.
We probably have to take this whole bracket out first, that's like the radiator support.
Yeah, that's the radiator support, so I can't exactly go up with it. I might just have to pry until I can get something on there. So that is how rusty and terrible a fastener can get just from being under the car where all the water hits it. So be careful with these, trying to get them off. Try not to round them.
Don't you love it when bolts, rust themselves into a half size?
Yeah. Ta-da! It came off. And now it's part of this socket. Okay. Map sensor is on this side for the intercooler. There are multiple map sensors. This is the one for the intercooler. So you have to make sure you disconnect that. Be very careful. Once that's off, make sure you've got these clamps loose. Make sure you've got those two bolts out. And then from what I can tell, there's a hook on the top. So we have to kind of pull out on both sides at the same time and go down. There it is. Look how much cleaner the backside is. Sweet. Pulled out.
This, yeah, your radiator support. It's mostly there.
I mean,
It's crusty.
it's crusty, but it's still there. Garbage. Alright. There's that new intercooler. So I definitely have to take my plastic crash bar off.
Oh, it's just clips. I can see right through it.
That was easy. It came with one 90-degree
Right there behind
elbow.
you.
It's actually a silicone with a straight section. I'm gonna have to measure this and try to replicate this part and order another silicone hose and maybe a clamp or two. Okay, so what I've got, I bought off of Amazon a 2.5-inch piece of aluminum it's just a straight section made for making your own intercooler setups. This came on the FS Works intercooler kit that we found in the junkyard, it was missing this section out of the junkyard. So this is just a 2.5 inch silicone 90. Got all this from Amazon too. It's basically the same setup. So we're just gonna cut it, roll the bead, make another one of these, and then replace some of the clamps and bolt it on there. So the two bottom brackets, those are in the right orientation, but these that we thought went on the inside, they actually go on the outside. So I'm gonna spin those around, and they should mate up to this hole up in here. So all I gotta do, I got a whole bunch of hardware I'm gonna use for it. Hardware there, and then the other one is going to be, I believe, this inside bolt right here. I'll get some hardware through that for the bottoms. Bolt it on, clamp it up, and it should be good to go. So we got this tiny little bead roller from that old, what does he call it, the Jungle website?
Yeah, Jungle website.
It doesn't fit in our vise. I guess our vise is wider than usual, but any vise that's this wide, like this tiny little one, the handle will turn. You can still use the bead roller. So what you do, you loosen this up to where this fits in, and then you're going to clamp it down. Bring it down till it's tight. Put a little bit of pressure on it, and then you got to kind of hold this against, and you're going to work this bead roller. Oh, the set screw came loose. See, this is the quality you get with Amazon. I got to tighten that set screw. Remember, always tighten steel hardware into aluminum as hard as you physically can. So I'm going to tighten this down more and just keep running it around. Just loosen this up till it slides out, and that's we've got our bead rolled in there. So these are 70 to 78. I don't know if they're going to be too big. They actually look like they'll be perfect. So you can buy these on Jungle website too. They were even nice enough. I ordered this separate. I ordered the two clamps here separate from this coupler, and they still stuck it on there. So thanks, Amazon employee, whoever you may be. And then I always like to orient my clamps so that I can get them off with it on the car. So I'm thinking it's going to go like this. Let's see how this fits. And it's just going to go in like that. Intercooler will be right there in the middle. That's going to work just fine right there. It's very important you have everything loose, because this will need to be positioned from left to right. You're supposed to line it up with the condenser, or with the radiator rather. Okay, all 4 bolts are in and started, but this is still loose. I can move it. This lower bracket was something that was damaged slightly in whatever accident this car was in. I have pressure tested this. It does hold pressure for now, so I might have to try to massage this bracket just a little bit. But
You want to talk about our pressure tester?
oh yeah, so we actually made this. You can, it's just an air fitting and some PVC with some adapters from the plumbing store, and another one of those 90s. This is a pressure tester, homemade. So what you can do is you can tape or put a rubber cap on or anything to seal up one side of the intercooler, and you can pressure test it from the other side. What I did was I taped it and then pumped it up with some pressure and sprayed soapy water all over it, and it's still holding. So that's a good way to test, and you can do this on your entire turbo system. So where your intake is, you can seal this up around your intake and pressurize your whole turbo system, and that's a good way to find boost leaks, which are not good. You want to leave some space between the intercooler and the radiator. You don't want to have them touching, because this intercooler will absorb heat directly from the radiator. You want some space for air to move through everything. So I pulled these bottom ones out with all the brackets loose, and then I lined it up side to side, and what I used was these these plastic tabs. The center hole on those plastic tabs, I tried to line up with the center of the edge of these intercooler pipes, so they're lined up. We're going to go ahead and tighten up all the clamps. I like to start with the ones on the body, because I know it's in the right position, and then I can tighten the factory bolts, and I'll get these 90s on here. Don't forget to take your tape off. you taped anything up. These are nylocks, so you don't have to make them crazy tight, but you don't want them to rattle loose. I will have to look at this because this bracket being bent, I might have to hammer it up. I guess I mean, it's pretty close though. If you look at the level of this crash bar, the intercooler is pretty level on everything. So it'll probably work as long as this doesn't hit anything underneath of it, but get these top ones tight and then I'll come down from the top. All right, I'm gonna do that with a wrench. This is why I like junkyard parts. Because this cost me, what?
30 bucks.
30 bucks. And as long as it doesn't have holes in it or leak, it's always, I mean, obviously I had to wash this out, and I washed it out with a whole bunch of kerosene, gasoline, Simple Green, everything. I blew it out. There was a bunch of stuff that came out of it, and it's all clean now, so hopefully it doesn't immediately grenade my engine. Okay, so I had to shave the tube down a little bit to get some more clearance. You can see in here we have very little clearance between this boost tube and that AC compressor. It's already hit it. Must have been when it was in the original wreck. But I'm just going to make sure that when this is all tight that can't go over any further. Maybe I'll clock it up a little bit, but boost tubes all lined up on both sides. I gotta get this one on the intercooler as well. This one also might have to get cut down. All right, it's all on, all bolted together. I'm fairly certain that none of the tails from these clamps are going to stick out. Sometimes they do and they'll hit things, so you got to be strategic on where you place them, and you can always cut them off. Just remember, if it's a very tight clamp, you might have to squeeze a lot to be able to get the nuts started, but they look pretty clear. I took this and I polished it with a one of those rubber finger wheels for gasket remover, whatever. I was gonna stencil it, but I'm not gonna stencil it. I like that it's bright right now. It's going to corrode. It's aluminum. It'll get that tarnish on it, but you won't be able to read anything I stencil on anyway. So both sides are on here and tight. Looks like we've got plenty of clearance. This is nice and solidly supported. So I am going to put you guys down, and me and Billy are gonna speed through putting the bumper and everything back on before I start it. Okay, so she's back together. I didn't get to do all of the other stuff that I was wanting to do. I wanted to reseal my other headlights. I just don't have time today. I will be doing that again at another point, but for now these are in here. Bumper's all on. Replaced all my broken retainers, and let's see if she starts up and runs just fine. Pops a check engine light or anything. Might not even crank because the battery's pretty dead. Alright, so I got my fancy scanner. The ignition is on with the engine not running. You can see right here, measured boost at throttle inlet pressure sensor right now says 14.29, which is roughly atmospheric. Usually there's about 14.6, 14.7 psi at atmosphere. So it's just reading the weight of the atmosphere. So let me start it and see what that goes to. And the battery's dead. Hey Billy.
Yep.
It's reading 14.29 right now. Yeah, so it's actually reading boost now. Cool.
Okay.